Today I'm here with Pavan Pudipeddi of PowerSquare and we're talking about wireless charging, the future of charging. So Pavan, before we get to all of that, I just want to know, how did you get involved in this space?
Thank you for having me here, Daratra. I'm glad to be here and good to be sharing my thoughts and views about wireless power and our journey, so we can potentially inspire some other people to get into this space and the entrepreneurship as well. Most of my career have been with a company called Texas Instruments. And most of that career has been in the US and working in the power and battery management domain. So
wait, Texas Instruments are the guys who make all those calculators, right?
That's one of the things.
Yeah.
In fact, I ran into somebody who wanted me to repair the calculator, so we don't really do that as engineers at Texas Instruments. But anyways, back in 2008 is when this entire wireless power thing started coming together. And at TI, we wanted wireless power. We envisaged that wireless power is one of the spaces that we wanted to invest in, because I come from the battery management and battery charge management business unit. So we felt that solar, energy harvesting, and wireless power, these are the technologies that we wanted to invest in.
This was 10 years ago?
This was about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And in fact, TI was one of the reasons why we have wireless power today, because if a semiconductor company doesn't invest into these spaces, you're not going to have miniaturized electronics. If you don't have miniaturized electronics, there's not going to be an integration into a phone, right? So, I mean, those are the bets that semiconductor companies make way back, so we can enjoy the technologies that we do today. Right? So that's how we got started with wireless power, and I was one of the members through TI, pulling the consortium together. There's a bunch of other companies. Philips was in part of it, Nokia was part of it, a couple other technology companies were part of it as well. And that's how the consortium started forming, and the stuff around wireless power started coming together.
Oh, so this is all the big guys who've come together for years and said we want to build a standardized system.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, it started way back when a company, it's actually owned by Amway. You heard of Amway, right? So they have an engineering, very, very capable engineering unit. They had some IP inside with them at the time to light up a bulb inside a water filtration system. So they used that technology, and then that they realized that this has potential in the mobile phone industry as well, right?
That's an incredible thought to think about. I mean, it all started with Amway putting a light in a water filter. And
you wouldn't think what the Amway we know is totally different from We've been associated with them. We're still friends with a lot of the people there, and they're a great company from an engineering standpoint. Right? So that's where it started. That was a baseline spec, and then Philips came in. Philips came in with their knowledge of the system level knowledge, but also more from a methodical approach of running a consortium, because that's what it's going to take. Is a very disciplined approach.
Yeah, it needs industry-wide approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So they have some experience from obviously from Blu-ray and other DVD and other consortia that they're able to bring in Bluetooth and different experiences coming together. TI played a big part because TI was trying to miniaturize the electronics and make it more practical. And what helped TI and the rest of the community is Nokia was also part of it. Nokia and Samsung and LG, and they were looking at it from the standpoint that how do I make this commercially viable to be integrated into a phone, right? Because if it's not miniaturized, if it's not small enough, if it's not meeting the safety and other specifications that I can design a phone with, then I would be not able to.
Exactly, you need something that works with all phones.
Yes, absolutely. So that's how it started about 10 years ago. Now it's a fairly mature consortium and standard. So when I decided, when the entrepreneurial bug bit me, wireless power was one thing we looked at, said, okay, we have experience in this space, we can build some IP in this space. So I moved back to India in about 2010. I was still with TI till 2013, and in 2013 joined PowerSquare and started building.
So PowerSquare was built purely going, this is my idea, I want to go after wireless charging.
Well, so I have a passion to build consumer-facing stuff. So I get excited when consumers touch and feel my product and give me feedback, whether they throw stones or exchange kudos. Either way, it's good. I love it. That's what motivates me. That's what excites me to see our product out on the shelves, right? So wireless power was a good place to start because we had IP, then we have experience. It's also very new into the space, and we could build some cool technologies with it. And we truly believe that over the course of next few years, it's going to completely change the way we interact with devices.
Okay. And
like anything else, technology is just the means. It's what you do with technology, what innovation you build on top of technology is how it's going to differentiate what we do in the future.
So so before we get to how the world is going to change with wireless charging, you've got some toys for us.
Yes.
So can you show us what exactly he's got a table full of this, a little out of shot. But so let's start with, I think this is your low end model or the lowest end model.
Yes, correct. So this is a typical wireless charger. Most of you would have seen something like this. It's just a circular disc, and in general you put a phone on top of it and it starts charging. It's very simple, very straightforward. You cannot beat the cost of this, and you'll get these anywhere from $10 to more than $100, depending on what material they're made with, what kind of look, feel they provide, right? Now that's the entry point, and we're all going to be starting to use this soon. Now the one issue with this is, although it's very cost effective, the way it works is there's a coil in here, and then there's a coil in here in the phone. So you have to align coil to coil, and then that's how the power transfer happens.
So I think you've actually got something to show us how that works, right? With the interiors of one of them.
So this is a module. This is a wireless power transmitter module. This is a charging pad. So something like this would be in this unit, something packed up like that. And there's a coil hidden inside the phone. Then you would align these two, and that's how the power transfer happens.
I love how simple that is, at least how you make it sound. So you've got the small guys, you've got the small circular pads, the iPhone X, whoever else has got. But what have you got? What makes your company different from everyone else?
Perfect, good question, and thanks for the question as well. So when we looked at this space, pretty much everybody, and thanks to the Chinese ecosystem, it's going to proliferate the market with these single device wireless chargers, right? So when we looked at this, there are two problems that we really wanted to solve. One is the ability to give a larger area where you can charge, so you don't have to specifically position it in one particular space, right? So you have a much larger space. Two is, how do I charge multiple devices? Now we're going to start having a couple different phones, or a family has multiple phones, obviously, and eventually this is meant to become a lifestyle object, right? So we wanted to build technology that can solve these two problems, and that's where we came up with our product. This is the world's first position-free multi-device charger, and what this does is basically you have a pad, and on the pad you're able to basically place the phone anywhere on the pad. And at the same time, you're able to charge multiple devices at a time. So this is the only one in the world that does that, and we will be able to innovate and take it all the way to production.
I think that's actually a good point, because you hear a lot of complaints from iPhone users about how you've got to put the phone specifically in one particular position, and the moment it moves, it stops charging. So if you get a call and it vibrates, it stops charging.
Yes.
So to have a device that works, you can move your phone around, put two phones on it, and it still charges is phenomenal.
Yes, and we see that's sort of the tip of the spear of our portfolio, so we're able to penetrate some of the markets, some of the customers that we want to penetrate, and then we're going to have the rest of the portfolio as well. Obviously, that starts making sense. One of the cool use cases that we see is with this multiple device charger pad is, imagine you have a phone, and we all have a power bank. The reason we don't use a power bank is because we have to charge it. Charging is the biggest nightmare. It's not your kid's education or your daughter's marriage. It's charging your phone. That's the biggest nightmare everybody has, right? So now we have a power bank here that not only charges wirelessly, but it also charges other devices wirelessly. So now,
so you've got a power bank that doesn't need to be connected
correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now you can charge this power bank along with the phone on our pad. Okay. And then when you're on the go, you're able to charge this.
To be clear, you get the pad, then you get the power bank, and then you put the... Wow, okay.
And you can do this, and then when you're on the move, you can do this, and then these two are able to charge. Right? The power bank is able to charge this one, right? So it's a very good use case, we believe, for people that are on the move, and particularly a good use case for the multi-device charger.
So another question a lot of people might have is wireless charging fast? When you think about Wi-Fi, you put an Ethernet cable, that's a lot faster. So wouldn't wired charging be faster?
Sure. I generally use an analogy that I want to use it here. So give me a handshake. Give me a hard handshake. So you give me a hard handshake, but I'm not, right? So you're not feeling the same love, right? So now that's how the technology also works, right? Now fundamentally, wireless power technology has no limitation.
Oh, so I'm the charger here.
You're the charger. I'm the phone, right? Okay. So you've given me as much power you can, but I'm not ready to take it. I'm not designed enough, or I'm not configured enough to take the power. I don't have. So traditionally, the phones have a charger IC that has the brains that charges the phone, charges the battery inside the phone. They are built using low voltage electronics, right? So it takes a couple generations for them to optimize the electronics and the power management inside the phone to be able to take higher power. So the limitation is not down on the technology, it's on the overall system implementation. Okay. So if you look at even these two particular pads, this is something that works up to 9 watts. This something works up to 15 watts.
So what does that mean? It means this charges faster?
this technically should charge faster, right?
Okay.
Now, just because I gave you a 15-watt pad doesn't mean your phone will charge faster. That's the biggest myth on this planet, right?
Okay.
I call this a fast charger. That doesn't mean your phone will charge fast.
So it's kind of like a bottleneck. You can throw as much energy at it, but unless you have the right component, it kind of gets stuck.
Correct. It's like your 4K TV, which you will never really enjoy, right? It's only in the store. So that's piece, right? So the biggest challenge is the thermal management that is done inside the phone. That's where anytime you have a battery, it's a significant risk. I mean, also we've seen from the recent issues with the Samsung as well.
Yeah,
right? So that's why they're very careful. And as technology matures, now the phones are already able to handle 10 watts and 7.5 watts. Right? So as it matures, we will see 15 watts as well coming into the phone. Now 15 watt also has an amazing application for tablets.
Oh,
right?
so it
obviously,
charges, okay.
Exactly. Obviously, this technology will migrate into the tablets now that wireless power is starting to become more popular. Right?
Okay, so there's something we were talking about earlier, now that you mentioned tablets, right? So we're talking about how if you put this under a metal surface, it might mess with it, because it's an electromagnetic charging capability.
Correct.
So if you put it under metal, it might mess with it a little bit.
Right.
So say we're moving on to tablets, we're moving on to laptops. All these have metallic components. So how do you get over that barrier?
So the good thing about this technology is the energy is isolated.
Okay.
Right? So you can have a big metal surface, but you can potentially have an area that doesn't have the metal.
Okay.
Right? So if you take a tablet can have a metal back, but then you can put a sleeve on tablet that takes care of the technology from the receiving electronics.
So you just got to have a gap between the metal. So it doesn't matter if there's metal in the
Yes. So for example, this particular component is called the coil, and it's what is called behind it is its shielding. Right? So now if you take this whole system, put on a metal pad, that's not going to really bother the system, because the energy is going the other direction.
It's going up. All right.
Right.
So now, okay, so we've gone through all this, and the question that I've been dying to ask you, if you've got a wireless charger, that's great, you can put your phone on it, it looks cool, everything, but you still got to stick the charger into the wall, right? So isn't it the same thing as carrying a charger everywhere?
In the near term, maybe yes, you may feel like that, right? Once you started using it, in the sense that imagine, this is a typical problem everybody has, right? Every night when you go to sleep, the lights are off, and you're trying to find the cable and trying to plug it in. Right? So it's still a cable, you can plug it in, it takes a couple seconds, but every day you live that couple seconds, you say, well, is there a better way to do this, right? Now that's how people have come up with USB-C, because you can plug it in anywhere you want. Otherwise you've been killing your USB.
You can do it the right way.
Right, doing the right way. Now this takes it to the next level, you don't even have to worry about plugging in, right? You just drop it on a mat. Now once you start using it, this just feels like old school, right? And that's how all the user studies have shown as well. Once people have started using this, they love it so much, the convenience of it. And the bigger vision for anybody in this technology space and the business of wireless power is that you make cables basically unnecessary. Right?
Okay.
So that's our sort of a tagline of retire the wire as well. So if it's everywhere you go, our vision is to be present in every facet of a consumer's life. So with home, office, car, things that move, things that don't move. So that if you are ubiquitous, then you don't have to worry about plugging in at all.
Okay, so you're talking about how it's going to change the world so fundamentally that yes, you could use a wire, but why would you?
Right. Now the most revolutionary thing I always try to talk about is, when I come here and ask you, I want to charge my phone, the first question is, what kind of charger? The Android charger or the Apple charger, which is actually not even the right question, but that's okay.
You get different kinds of Apple chargers, different kinds of Android chargers.
Exactly, right? Now imagine with wireless power, that those words are gone from your vocabulary forever. So just like,
because it's wireless, you don't have to stick it in. You just drop it down, no matter what phone you have.
And all these work with the same standard. That's the beauty of this, right? So if either you have an Apple phone or an Android phone or whatever phone, LG, Samsung, once this technology is adopted, they all work from the same surface.
Okay. Right? So now we've talked a lot about the customer-facing products, which are interesting, and these are the kind of things that get people, energized. You look at a video with a wireless charger. But I think the thing that's really going to change wireless charging is your business-focused products. So can you tell us a little about where you're going there?
Sure. As I mentioned before, we want to be present in every facet of consumers' life. So B2C, we've talked about, we've shown you the products, the portfolio. The other places where we believe are going to be as critical are going to be B2B, where this is cafes and lounges, and also potentially offices, right? Okay. Imagine, every desk you can see here around us can potentially have a charging surface. Our devices are sitting here, phones are sitting here in a meeting room table, conference room table. They can all potentially be turned into surfaces, right?
So basically, you sell your little battery packs to I don't know, some cafe. They put it in that table, pre-made.
Right.
It's not like a move around thing. It says PowerSquare on there, and you drop your phone and it charges.
That's it. That's the vision. Now we'll start with the cafes because that not only gets us branding, it also gets visibility. It also sort of gives consumers to use the technology, right? And then they'll be able to go onto our website and buy one from a personal use as well, right? Once again, we start with the cafes, then the B2B aspects kicks in into the offices, interior designers, and things like that, right? Now imagine Dell or Yahoo is building a brand new office, or even renovating their office, or even Marriott is doing up their rooms. We should be able to give this technology, place it into the places, and really enhance the user experience of their consumers, right? And the real innovation on top of that would be software layer that we look to add on top of these infrastructure sort of installments, where we're able to see how much time the consumers are spending here at a certain point, and we could potentially be able to detect based on certain algorithms we have is what kind of phone is potentially be charged on that space, right? So
Wait,
that is
so
sort
it
of
sends
data.
information backwards as well?
It can.
Yeah.
It can, right? So we're able to mine that information, or we have some certain algorithms where we can figure out, what is being charged there. So that's a very powerful data, whether in public infrastructure or in a cafe. That data can be really mined for the for utility, right?
Right.
So
but doesn't that raise issues of privacy if someone just goes to a table by mistake and drops their phone?
So we're not necessarily getting into what the phone is doing. We're just looking at who is there.
Okay,
we wouldn't know which person is there.
Yeah.
It'd be like, okay, there's probably a Samsung phone there, there's probably an Apple phone there.
Oh, so you get to know who uses, what kind of users use your
potentially.
phone.
Right? And even if it is, even forget about all that, right? Even if we can figure out that a phone is using it, that means some person has been there in this cafe for this long using your service. So when you actually give that service, you're able to detect, is anybody using it?
Oh, okay,
right?
okay. So it's not just an empty...
Yeah, it's just not an empty thing, it's not a coaster, right?
Right.
But at the same time, if we have that presence, it also gives us an opportunity to monetize that in multiple ways.
Right, of course.
Right. So that is the hotel and lounge space. We also have an automotive focus.
Okay, so cars.
Yeah, so cars, yes, cars and two-wheelers as well, right? So there's a dual focus there. One is an aftermarket focus, which is probably a lot quicker, because once Apple has announced support for this particular standard and this technology with 8, 8 Plus, and 10, we heard Xiaomi is coming out with their phones as well with wireless charging support. Now those guys have the ability to drive down into a different segment of the market, right?
Right.
And if the biggest selling phone in India is the J series, if Samsung decides to put in the J series, then that really pushes the.
And they will, right? I mean,
will.
it'll be very surprising if they don't have wireless phones in 2 years.
They have technology. I mean, they can turn it on like this,
Yeah,
right?
and it doesn't cost too much. I'm guessing
Doesn't
that
cost.
extra component.
And Nokia apparently is one of the biggest sellers of smartphones in India now, right?
Right.
Certainly with their resurgence. So I mean, they are very familiar with this technology. That they can really push.
Oh,
it
they've
as
been
well.
there since the TI days.
Yes. I mean, although this is a different set of guys, but still, the fundamental technology is pretty straightforward, right? So these things we see in the next 8 to 12 months, we should be able to enable different class of people as well to start using other than the 60,000-70,000
So
phone.
you're going to be doing it both ways, right? So you're going to be selling literal armrests with the chargers in them.
So
which has actually got one right here.
Yes, I have one here. I don't know if you can see it, but this is an armrest. This is a prototype of an armrest that you can basically put your phone on it and it starts to charge. Yep, that's it. It's as simple as that. And you can drive along, don't get distracted. The phone sits in there, and eventually we'll build technologies that will be able to move your screen's content onto your through Android Auto or whatever. I mean, those are all possible. So that's why we believe this technology really enables a whole brand new experience when it comes to how you interact with your devices. Right?
Okay, so now we're talking about literally what your company is focused on today. We're talking about B2B, B2C, putting it in cafes, putting it in offices, buying one for your house. But in the future, give it 5 years, give it 10 years, how far do you see this wireless charging going to go? Is it just going to be phones, laptops, or is it going to beyond to all electrical items that can be moved around?
So pretty much anything that's got electronics or battery or power requirement can potentially be wireless, right? The biggest, the advantage of wireless is you can completely build sealed products.
Okay.
Right. So even if starting with phones, they're making waterproof. Apple has gotten rid of the headphone jack. Now the last thing is to cut the cord. right? So if they can charge wirelessly and if you can charge everywhere, you don't even need a power port, right? So to say in a lot of your devices, right? Now you extend that beyond tablets, beyond consumer devices. You can think about IoT devices that are sitting in remote locations that have batteries that last for maybe a year. Now if you're able to figure out how to send power to those devices, that batteries can potentially last 2-3 years. That saves significant cost in maintenance and overall in general a lot more greener as well.
So it saves a lot of energy in transmitting energy from one place to another place.
And the bigger vision is, hopefully someday we'll get to see it, is we just spent half an hour at traffic signals all over Bangalore, right? Imagine if while you're sitting there, you're able to charge your electric vehicle. So that's a vision. I'm sure a lot of people have that, and we share that vision too. And someday, hopefully, we will be able to.
So that's an incredible thought. I mean, if you're sitting in traffic for 30 minutes. And they've got these pads. I mean, however they decide to charge electric cars in the future, if they manage to figure it out, you can charge your car just sitting there.
Yes, absolutely, right? So they've already started showing these various experiments of charging. BMW has recently released a video that they're able to charge their car through the wireless link. We focus on obviously commercializing these technologies, and as the time is right, we'll try to bring in those as well. And not only cars, another good example is actually two-wheelers. Right, so imagine, India is one of the biggest markets. We think we sold about 17 million two-wheelers in 2017. That's significant.
It's a lot of,
Now, all those will start going towards the, towards electric, I think, in the near future.
We've got a whole mandate of 2030 for all electric.
Absolutely, and hopefully that comes true for all of us. And when that happens, and I think building an infrastructure of where you can just park your bike and just go and continue to sit there and charge, no worrying of this plugging it in. The one big thing about plugging it in is people may tend to forget to unplug. They'll start driving and then they wouldn't know it was plugged in, right? I mean, that is going to happen. There's going to be so many YouTube videos of that.
It's definitely going to happen.
That's a good case for wireless power.
No, but it's funny, right? That's not happened yet, and we already have a solution for it.
Yes, well, I mean, the technology.
Working on the solution.
Yeah, so the good thing is, with the consumer space, people will start experiencing wireless power. Once you experience something and once you start loving it, the other applications will be adopted much faster. Right?
So are we thinking of, like, paint me a picture? Is it going to be, we've got a home theater system where the TV is wirelessly connected, the DVD player is wirelessly connected, everything is wirelessly connected. There's no wires at all.
Well, so you're already beginning to see it, right? Yeah. So there is no DVD player anymore.
It's
already
DVD
Netflix and Amazon Prime, and so that part is already your media is already wireless.
Yeah.
Right now, as far as speakers go, they're already become wireless. Right. So you already have speakers that don't need any wires, right? And basically, audio, video, you sort of already cut the cord. The last cord to cut is power. And that's what's happening now. Right, so if you're able to send power, now imagine even the lighting fixtures, right? So you have a light on the wall here. Tomorrow you don't like it here, you want to put it somewhere else. Wireless power will make that happen.
You can just pick it up and
drop it somewhere else. So,
but wouldn't that require like your entire wall to be a kind of?
So that is where the trade-off is going to be, right? I mean, do you want the whole wall to do that, or can you build in such a way, just like you build plug points, you build just enough surfaces and locations, and say, hey, you know what? I just will move around. I don't want nails. I don't want any of it. We'll figure out a way to magnetically align it.
So instead of having lines through your wall, you just pick it up and move it to the next spot.
Yes, that would be perfect, right? So that's the vision, that's the future, and hopefully we'll see it soon.
Yeah, so that's been incredibly enlightening. So all of you who thought the wireless charging was just a little gimmick for the iPhone X, I think we can be talking about changing the mood by moving your lights based on who you're bringing over.
Yes, thank you very much for your time. Please check us out on PowerSquare.com, and we look forward to seeing you there.